Meet the man behind a tournament that's changing lives forever.
It's the World Cup of Joy, it's the World Cup of Peace. I'm John Rowe, co-founder and chief exec of Street Child United.
This is a World Cup about hope, about bringing together some of the world's most vulnerable children and giving them a voice.
It transforms them. It gives them opportunities in terms of education. It gives them identity.
So John, we're here in Qatar, hosts of the 2022 World Cup, and we're walking alongside the pitch that will host another World Cup, the Street Child World Cup, your idea. Where did you get the idea from?
We volunteered with our family in South Africa. We met a boy on the streets who said, when people see me on the streets, they say, I am a street child. But when they see me playing football, they say, I am a person. I'm a person like you. Our daughters did school assemblies, and at one, a young girl put her hand up and said, why can't street children have a World Cup? And we just thought, as football fans, that is a brilliant idea to keep the issues that are important to street children globally: access to education, protection from violence, gender equality, birth registration, in the public spotlight. A very simple idea, the idea of an 8-year-old girl, and it's amazing that 12 years later we're doing the 4th Street Child World Cup with 28 countries coming to Qatar to play on that pitch.
So how do you go about choosing the kids then to be involved?
We don't. We choose the very best projects that are working with street children globally. They demonstrate to us that they can support these young people before, during and after. And that coming to an event like this is in the best interests of that child at this stage of their development. So the local projects in the 28 countries that are coming choose the young people.
And John, what effect does this have on those vulnerable young people?
It transforms them. It gives them opportunities in terms of education. It gives them identity, but it also completely widens their horizons in terms of what the world has to offer, in terms of friendships, in terms of cultural exchanges, but also in terms of confidence. We say this is the I Am Somebody World Cup, and you can see these heroic young people becoming somebody, becoming larger than themselves during the course of the 10 days.
John, you've been doing this for 12 years now. What for you are some of the success stories?
Lasting success in regard to access to education and birth registration and identity. The legacy is what it's all about. I think when Team Pakistan returned to Karachi after 2014, they were met by 7,000 people at the airport. The media covered their story every single day. And when you've got the people of a country on your side, you can do great things. They met their president, as did 7 of the teams after the last World Cup, presented their demands to them. And the Pakistan government undertook to do a census of street children. They'd never done a census. They'd never counted the children in Pakistan. The first ever census of street children in Pakistan was quite phenomenal. They also passed funding to deliver child protection training, co-delivered by the police and street-connected organisations. India promised to provide 6 million Aadhaar cards and birth certificates for street children after the last World Cup.
And you used that word demand there. You said when the young people met their presidents and prime ministers, they gave their demands to them. So you're clearly having an effect on policy as well.
It's very much about gender equality, about access to education, about birth registration and identity, and about protection from violence. And identity is key to that, absolutely key. Because if you don't have a birth certificate, if you don't exist, then you have no rights. No one will protect you. You don't have the opportunity to progress through education.
These include identity card, birth certificate.
We also deserve all opportunities a child should have.
There's a wonderful legacy of this World Cup that's happened in Bangladesh on the way to it. 3 of the young people didn't have their birth certificates. That's not unusual. 82% of street children don't have birth certificates globally. But they have to have birth certificates in order to get a passport, in order to get a visa. So for the previous 6 months, the project has been lobbying the Supreme Court, who have been demanding from the government to simplify the process of birth registration in Bangladesh. And it has been simplified, and this will have implications for 1.3 million street children in Bangladesh. So the fact that 3 children coming to this Street Child World Cup can enable identity for over 1 million children in Bangladesh is quite phenomenal. That's the power of football.
So, John, you're also going to have people here meeting, the children themselves meeting their sponsors. What's that experience like?
It's quite amazing. So it's particularly Team Sudan and Team Bosnia. They're orphans, but they have sponsors that are based in Qatar. You know, it's spine-tingling to think these people have been helping them from birth all the way through, and will continue to help them through to the completion of university. It's about gratitude, it's about thankfulness, but there's also a bit about the Street Child World Cup which is a fairy tale. You're creating moments which are quite unbelievable.
And these are real relationships. They're not just kind of sort of corporate transactions.
Exactly. They are in touch with their sponsors. They know who these people are, but they never ever thought they would come to Qatar and be able to meet them.
So how is Street Child World Cup in Qatar going to be different from previous events, John?
It's the first World Cup in the Middle East, so the hospitality has been quite phenomenal. But the access to the legacy of this Street Child World Cup, there's far more depth ahead of the event than previous events. It's definitely going to be the biggest and the best with the deepest legacy. It's the World Cup of hope, it's the World Cup of joy, it's the World Cup of peace. We're also an arts and culture World Cup, and the young people can be heroes in both settings. Our job is to tell the stories of street-connected young people and refugees, so we're glad to be able to give them a platform for these heroic young people to be seen in a very different light, to be seen as heroes.
Well, you spoke there about looking to the future. And John, for those taking part then, what do you hope that they'll take away from being involved?
I hope they will realise that their voices will be heard, that they matter, that they are somebody. On an individual level, you can see the young people grow in confidence during. It's almost like they get bigger. They're absolutely just increasing confidence throughout the whole of the week. They have opportunities, they make friendships, they're connected, they're no longer isolated, and that will have impact in all parts of their life. This is a huge challenge for them, and that will prepare them really well for the next challenge in their lives.
John, thanks so much for joining us on The Dialogue.
My pleasure. Thank you for your time.